people know that in some areas, locals are highly skilled in wild boar hunting and often organize group hunts to control their population. However, wild boars are quite cunning, so they're not as easy to take down as you might think. With their rapid reproduction rate, it's the farmers who truly have to worry about protecting their crops. If you're interested, join us on today's hunting trip. A new day began and I, along with the local villagers, gathered fully equipped with weapons, ammunition, and a pack of highly skilled hunting dogs. We split into several groups, spreading out across the Orange Grove, an area where wild boars often sneak in to forage. As soon as the dogs began their chase, the entire grove erupted in chaos. A wild boar burst out of the underbrush, darting across the trail, and the gunfire rang out in rapid succession. The hunters were ready, rifles loaded, and aimed directly at their targets. One by one, the boars fell beneath the orange trees, and the opening battle ended with a proud result. In just one morning, we had eliminated and driven out all the wild boars from the Orange Grove. Therefore, in the afternoon, the whole group decided to move to a nearby valley to continue the hunt. And just as expected, less than 30 minutes later, a herd of wild boars suddenly appeared, running chaotically along the trail. At that moment, dust filled the air, gunfire erupted non-stop, and the boars, in a panic, scattered in all directions, yet none escaped our sights. Though not large in size, their destructive power is not to be underestimated, and we didn't let a single one slip away. The higher we went, the greater the chances of encountering wild boars. Gunfire still echoed here, but now we were facing boars twice the size of usual, fully grown, stubborn, and extremely dangerous. Even the dense bushes couldn't hide them for long, especially with the hunting dogs still sniffing through every corner. This was the moment. As a wild boar passed through my line of sight, I decisively pulled the trigger without a hint of hesitation. The air seemed to hold its breath at that shot. The beast collapsed into the bushes. Along the barbed wire fences, the wild boars recklessly searched for food. We still weren't ready to stop and decided to take down these ugly beasts. As the final gunshots rang out, we were ready to head home with a remarkable result. It didn't stop there. Our hunting dogs were still combing through the dense thickets, flushing out wild boars. Taking advantage of the chaos, we tried to shoot as quickly and accurately as possible. Sometimes, luck doesn't come from numbers, but from timing. As my dog chased after a different target, this beast came running straight toward where I was lying in ambush. Perfect. I knew I had only one shot. I raised my rifle, stayed calm. And boom. One single shot, so precise, even I was surprised. After a long day of relentless hunting, we were getting ready to head home as evening set in. But it wasn't over yet. On the way back, a wild boar suddenly appeared in the forest. We stuck to the old tactic. As soon as the boar dashed past, I quickly pulled the trigger. The sharp crack of the gunfire rang out, marking the end of a glorious hunting day. Over time, hunts like this have become familiar to us. We hope to keep winning the battle against the destruction caused by these wild boars. After many difficult hunting trips, I realized one thing. Tracking and locating wild pigs from the ground is not only difficult, but also potentially risky. Especially when they quickly escape into the bushes. Determining the direction is almost impossible. So, a bold idea came up. Hunting wild pigs by helicopter. In the U.S., wild pigs are not only an invasive species, but also a nightmare for the agricultural industry. With an impressive reproductive capacity, an average female pig can give birth to 12 to 20 piglets per year. They destroy crops, erode the land, and cause billions of dollars in damage every year. That is why controlling their numbers has become an urgent task. Can I control the situation? Join me in this dramatic battle. Today, I decided to try a new method. Hunting wild boars from a helicopter. With the support of a Robinson R44 Raider and a Wedgetail Industries WT-25-308 Winchester rifle, a specialized weapon with high accuracy. When everything is ready, we start to set off. Our destination is the open land near the forest and the nearby fields. Walking around, I check the terrain, as well as look for traces of the invaders. It seems that hunting by helicopter is a good choice. From above, the wide observation range helps me easily detect their traces, plowed land, and destroyed crops. Flying across an open field, I spotted the first targets. They were impressive with their shiny black fur. The size of adults up to 100 kilograms and sharp fangs. Tom quickly adjusted the altitude, kept the plane stable, and approached the target. With the skills and experience accumulated over the years, I raised the gun, decisively pulled the trigger. One shot, one kill. In order to quickly take down the wild boar, I held the gun tightly, calmed down, and chose the vital points. The noise from the helicopter made the nearby wild boars panic, rushing out of their hiding places. However, it was a wrong choice. The helicopter circled over the field. We had just discovered a herd of about 10 wild boars, all of them large in size, and with an incredible speed, up to 40 kilometers each. When the first shot rang out, I knocked down one. The rest immediately scattered to run. This is also a quite typical behavior of wild boars. However, the helicopter gave us a superior advantage. When the first shot rang out, I quickly knocked down one. The rest immediately scattered to escape, but each shot was a sentence for the invader. In this chase, the wild boars could not defeat the power of the helicopters. When Tom chased another herd of wild boars, I fired continuously, but it seemed that the herd of wild boars had realized the danger. They had learned to avoid my attacks. Indeed, this hunting experience from above was not as easy as I thought. From the edge of the forest, Tom flew back to the field. When hearing the sound of the helicopter, they quickly ran into the dense bushes, making it difficult for me to find the target. However, thanks to Tom's ingenuity, we discovered a larger herd of more than 10. Not being able to miss the opportunity, I focused on the biggest ones, pulling the trigger continuously. The wild boars were taken down one by one. We quickly chased the remaining targets. From the edge of the forest, Tom flew back to the field. The final targets gradually appeared. Unable to miss the opportunity, once again approached and surrounded the target. Confusion and panic had made them lose their inherent flexibility. 14. A few minutes passed. The entire herd of wild boars had been taken down by me. Adult wild boars, weighing 80, 120 kilograms, were scattered across the field. After many hours of hunting, we took down about 50 wild boars. However, this number was still a small number compared to the millions of individuals that were destroying the United States. However, that was also the motivation, giving us more strength for the next hunting trips. In the forested mountains of the Pyrenees, France, where endless woods stretch across the land, a hidden threat lurks in the shadows. Giant wild boars. They're not just a nightmare for local farmers, but a real danger to the entire ecosystem. Over the past year alone, nearly 2,000 hectares of farmland in the Pyrenees have been ravaged by wild boars, causing damages of over €4 million. These animals don't just destroy crops, they attack livestock and pose a serious threat to human safety. We couldn't sit back and watch any longer. It was time to act. At the break of dawn, we arrived at the rendezvous point, a sparse winter forest. The bare trees opened up our field of vision, making it much easier to spot our targets. Once we found the perfect ambush spot, the entire team fell into silence, patiently waiting. Only the sound of cold wind rustling through dry branches broke the stillness. Then suddenly they appeared. A large herd of wild boars moving toward the forest's edge, led by a full-grown alpha with thick, black, bristly hair. It stood out sharply against the pale winter ground. Wasting no time, we all took aim and opened fire. The first shot hit clean. One boar dropped on the spot. But our real target was the leader. We immediately spread out to chase it down. Gunshots echoed through the woods as one by one the herd fell, including the dominant boar, the crown jewel of our hunt. The intense chase wore down the boars. They started to stagger, their pace slowing, no longer able to escape. This was our moment. I stopped, raised my rifle, and took careful aim. My breathing slowed. Finger on the trigger. Headshot. The bullet flew like lightning, ending it clean and fast. The success fueled our motivation. Spirits high, we split up to sweep the surrounding areas in search of more targets. And then, hidden in a dense bush, I spotted a flicker of movement, a shadow shifting. Without hesitation, I took the shot. The boar dropped before it even sensed the danger. We continued across the rolling hills, following fresh tracks that showed wild boars were becoming more and more active. From a familiar ambush position, I kept watch, waiting for the right moment, and when it came, I didn't hesitate. Shot after shot rang out, each one finding its mark. By afternoon, we moved toward a nearby mountain, rumored to be home to the largest boars in the region. And sure enough, they were massive, far beyond what we expected. They were also highly alert, forcing us to move with extreme caution, inching closer without making a sound. What many don't realize is that when cornered, wild boars can turn aggressive and fight back, making things extremely dangerous. Within minutes of coordinated action, the entire herd was neutralized, a truly impressive feat. Burst out from behind a nearby bush. It all happened in a flash, but thankfully, one teammate was close and reacted instantly. One clean shot, the boar went down before it could even think about running. That quick reflex probably saved us from a very dangerous chase. After an intense day of non-stop action, we had racked up an impressive haul. The whole team agreed it was time to call it and head back. But just as we were descending the mountain trail, another herd appeared out of nowhere. Not wanting to miss one last chance, we quickly fell into formation, pouring all our remaining energy into the final chase. The pursuit stretched into the late afternoon, and finally, we succeeded, wrapping up a thrilling and emotional hunt. Although measures such as hunting are used in many countries to control wild boar populations, their effectiveness is limited due to the species' rapid reproduction. In Italy, for example, although hunters kill around 295,000 animals each year, the wild boar population is still increasing by 150% annually, an alarming figure. To improve the effectiveness of control, we not only rely on hunting, but also combine trapping with this method. This combination optimizes the killing ability, targeting even the most cunning individuals in the herd, thereby creating a stronger impact in limiting the wild boar population explosion. As usual, the traps are set in the evening, and we will return to check them the next morning. Everything was going according to plan, until the surveillance system reported an unusual situation. A wild boar had fallen into the trap, but instead of accepting its fate, it frantically tried to escape. The camera recorded it struggling, climbing out of the trap before disappearing into the night. Without hesitation, the team immediately armed themselves, quickly approached the trap area, ready to track and kill it before it had a chance to recover. Since it was late at night, we had to use the thermal scope to search for the target. As soon as we arrived, we scanned the area, and a familiar figure immediately appeared before our eyes. It seemed to have gotten tired and was replenishing its energy. We cautiously approached the target. The wild boar was still unaware that it had been targeted. Choosing a suitable shooting angle, raising the gun, aiming straight at the target, and pulling the trigger, the wild boar collapsed heavily to the ground. The escaped target had been taken down. However, the story did not end there. This area was right near the edge of the forest, where wild boars often came to forage. After walking around, the scene before my eyes left me stunned. Wild boars were scattered everywhere, more in number than expected. In the darkness, they were completely unaware of our presence. This was an opportunity not to be missed. Immediately getting into position, when everything was ready, we opened fire simultaneously. After a hail of bullets, half of the wild boars were taken down, while the rest had already fled. After a hail of bullets, half of the wild boars had been taken down, while the rest had already fled. However, with the thermal scope in hand, no matter which direction the boars ran, we could easily track them. Prioritizing those that had separated from a herd, they became easy targets to take down without causing further commotion. Some of them panicked and ran towards the edge of the forest, but before they could disappear from sight, the accurate shots quickly ended their escape. There was no chance of escape. While tracking, we discovered a large herd of boars, moving in a herd and fleeing. Grasping their direction of movement, the group immediately accelerated and advanced to intercept them. Holding the gun firmly, when the herd of pigs appeared, immediately we opened fire at the same time. The first bullet was aimed straight at the leader of the wild boar, the one leading the herd. Then 1, 2, 3. One by one, the wild boars fell. After the rain of bullets, the battlefield was quieter, but there was still one survivor. A wild boar was bewildered, its bloodshot eyes staring at us, full of confusion, but also mixed with defiance. Without hesitation, I raised my gun, resolutely pulled the trigger, a perfect headshot that killed the wild boar in an instant. The sky gradually brightened. We began to move towards the farm after a night of intense pursuit. However, before we could relax, we discovered an unusual sign. A few cunning wild boars had sneaked inside, weaving among the herd of cows, taking advantage of the darkness to forage. The group immediately deployed their formation and approached carefully. Only about 50 meters away from the target, but the herd of pigs was still completely off guard, absorbed in digging without realizing the approaching danger. The atmosphere was more tense than ever. At this moment, every shot had to be absolutely accurate. A small mistake could cause the herd of cows to panic, causing uncontrollable chaos. The result was beyond expectations. In just a few seconds, the intruders were completely eliminated. The remaining pigs fled the farm in panic. After the intense battle, the dawn had just broken, dispelling the silence of the night. The resounding victory last night made the whole group excited, but at the same time, it also strengthened their determination to completely exterminate the wild boar herd to prevent future invasions. We speculated that the ones that had escaped must have retreated to the hills near the farm. Without hesitation, the whole group immediately moved, heading straight towards it. From the top of the mountain, through binoculars, we discovered the pigs lurking behind the trees. Quickly deploying tactics, we divided into small groups, silently ambushing in different positions. The gunshots echoed once more, ending all resistance. Each wild boar fell down on the spot. The wild boars in this area were not only huge, but also extremely cunning. However, no matter how agile they were, they had no chance of survival. Despite trying to run away, rushing at terrifying speed, gliding through each bush, looking for an escape route, the wild boar could not escape my bullets. It fell over and rolled down the slope. If we did not act promptly today, the consequences would be unpredictable. Hello everyone. Welcome to our next hunting trip today. This time, we're hunting in an area located right on the border between farmland and dense forest, an area that has suffered severe damage from wild boars. According to reports from a local farm, in just 3 months, the damage caused by wild boars has exceeded $200, with dozens of hectares of corn, sweet potatoes, and sugarcane destroyed, barns broken into, and even several cases of livestock being attacked. There's no other choice. We, a specialized hunting team, were called in to deal with the situation. Will we succeed on this mission? The video that follows has the answer. We brought along large-caliber semi-automatic rifles, long-range scopes, suppressors, and GPS devices to mark the activity zones. With the terrain being open forest mixed with thick underbrush, the most suitable tactic was active tracking combined with strategic ambushes. Only 40 minutes into the forest, we heard rustling from a low bush. We immediately split into 2 directions to close in on the area. From the right, a male wild boar emerged, not very large, but with eyes full of alertness. Without hesitation, I fired a single shot. The bullet pierced through its neck. It dropped instantly. The gunshot stirred the forest into chaos. We quickly regained focus and prepared to take on the next targets. About 300 meters from a first shooting point, we discovered footprints mixed with a few freshly dug patches of earth. Something was moving parallel to us at very high speed. Through the scope, we spotted a dense herd of wild boars crossing the hillside. They seemed to have noticed us and appeared quite panicked. There was no time to think. I turned and fired 2 consecutive shots. One was hit and rolled down the slope. The rest were taken down by my teammates with shots from the opposite direction. All of them were fully grown boars, each weighing over 100 kilograms. It was truly an outstanding achievement. That shot caused panic in the surrounding herd. They stopped causing damage and began retreating, hiding. We immediately set up an ambush from multiple directions. No one spoke. All we could hear was the pounding of our hearts and our heavy breaths. Every step had to be calculated. You never know if the enemy is in front of you or right behind you. The tension was unbearable. From a distance, a wild boar appeared, huge, with eyes glowing red, like burning coal. I held my breath, took aim, and pulled the trigger.
Trucks.
The forest quickly turned chaotic. Gunshots echoed through the trees, dogs barked furiously, and the screams of fallen hogs pierced the air. Some nearby boars managed to escape just in time, disappearing into the brush along the hillside, leaving us in tense silence. But we didn't give up. We split up and started tracking again. Eventually, in a shadowed spot beneath a tree line, a target emerged. A single, clean shot ended it instantly, in total silence. In the afternoon, we continued scouting the surrounding areas. As expected, the boars had fled to this location. The targets appeared, weapons ready. The entire team took their positions, each aiming at a different target. A volley of gunfire echoed through the forest, one shot, one kill. As the boar population slowly thinned, we thought the battle was over. But there were just too many. They were everywhere, and even after 24 hours of non-stop hunting, we couldn't take them all down. Exhausted, we gave it everything we had, trying to eliminate as many as possible. But one thing's for sure, we'll need a better plan, and we'll have to return tomorrow.